Hello everyone. So what I'm going to be doing today is replacing all three fuel lines on my 1996 Hatchback Honda Civic DX. And that is going to be all three lines: the feed line, the return line, and the vent line. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my new parts and then we'll get started. So just to mention, I'm fairly certain that this repair will apply to years 1996 through 2000. I believe that's the range of that generation of Civics. So although you might not recognize everything exactly, I believe the repair should work fairly the same way. So for the feed line, I had to actually order this part on eBay. It's a kit that came with, this is stainless steel braided fuel line with the rubber coating and all the fittings attached nicely. So the reason for this is this line is under pressure and you need those fittings to accommodate that. So I'm gonna link all this stuff below so you guys can check it out. Now for the return line and the vent line, this is just 1/4 inch rubber fuel line that I got on Amazon. So I have 25 feet of this, and this should cover both of those lines. And this is not under pressure, from what I understand, so you can get away with having just this basic cut line, because this hose will just fit right over the fittings, and it'll just be clamped on with something like this. I had ordered some nice clamps, but FedEx failed to deliver them today, so I'm probably just going to use something like this. So the first thing we're going to do here is just take a look under the hood so I can show you guys where you should start off. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is remove your air intake, which will normally sit, or just the cover for the air intake. It's going to sit there like that, and the only thing that's holding it in, at least for my car, just these little clamps that you press down. So pull that out and get that out of the way. Alright, so I just want to show you the origin point of all these lines. So there's three lines. The feed line is going to come into your fuel filter here. If you can see, it's right here. So there's a fitting there, it runs down to the track. I believe this one here is the vent line. So this is a rubber hose that connects to the metal line right there. And then your return line comes off of your fuel rail. Here. Again, there's the rubber hose, goes down, connects to the metal line, which then goes under the car with the other two lines. So with the vent line and the return line, I'm going to be replacing everything up until this point here, which is just held on by a clamp. And obviously on the feed line, it's going to be replaced up to the top. Alright, so that's your starting point. Okay, so now we're under the car, and you can see here, these three lines, those really rusty things, those are your fuel lines. Normally, these are going to be under a plastic cage, which I'll show you. I took it off. You're going to have to take that off. And these are the brake lines, which I had replaced. All 5 of these lines are going to run parallel to each other underneath that cage if you haven't replaced them yet. I did these myself. That's why they look a little funky, but they work. And I'm just going to be leaving that cage off because I live in upstate New York, and it's just not worth putting it back on because all the salt and everything gets trapped in there, and I'm going to be selling this car soon anyway. So if you can see, they go up, over, and then they go back up into the engine bay where I showed you the origin point. One thing I just wanted to mention, because I was watching other videos to see how to do this, is this other guy had said you need to remove your front subframe for this repair, which is true but not entirely true. The only reason you would have to remove your front subframe is if you were, say, taking these parts off of an old car from the junkyard, so they're already bent exactly the way they needed to be bent. Because the way they're bent, the only way it'll fit is if you feed it under the subframe here, and that involves a whole lot of work that I don't want to get into. And also, this thing's really rusty, so I just don't even want to mess with it. So because I have that flexible line, I can just go right around this and don't have to worry about it. It's the same thing I did here with the brake line. And as you can see, the run goes all the way from the front to the back here. I just want to show you what the this plastic mount would look like. So that'll, or the bracket, so that would be up here, covering your line. It's just held in. It's just held in by something like that. And as you see, mine was so rusty, it just pulled right out. Alright, so now we're at the back of the car, and you can see the line running up here. This is your feed line. So this goes up, around, does this little horseshoe thing, connects right here to a rubber hose, which then goes up and over your tank, over the top of your tank. And we're actually going to access the top of the tank through the inside of the car, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And then I believe this one is your feed line. Does a similar thing, comes up, does a little horseshoe, connects to a rubber fitting, which then connects to the top of the tank. And lastly, your vent line, which comes up here and goes up behind this shield here, which I'm going to have to remove, and it just connects to another fitting up there somewhere. I'm not exactly where it connects, but you'll be able to see it from under the car. It's kind of hard for me to show you, but you'll be able to see it. So if you remember, I told you you're going to access the top of that tank through the inside of your car. You're going to have to remove your back seat. So I actually already removed mine, but I'll show you how to do it. It's really easy. If you're going to reach in right around here to the left of this passenger seat. And if you reach down, you'll be able to feel a bolt in there, and that bolt is going to be running through here. And that's the only thing holding this chair. And from there, it's just clips that just pull out. But that's a 10mm bolt. If you have, like, I think a 6-inch extension on your ratchet, you'll be able to fit it in there nicely. And then it just comes out like this. That'll pull out. Can't get it right now, but that'll pull out. And that'll expose this thing right here, which is then held in just by 4 screws, 4 Phillips head. You remove that, and that's the top of your tank. So that's going to be your feed line right there, and your return line right there. So it's pretty simple, and it gives you nice access to your tank there. So now I'm ready to start taking things out. Since I'm not keeping any of this old line, I'll probably be cutting some of it as I go, just so I can fish it out a bit easier. But I'm going to start by removing my feed line, and I'll try to take off at least the origin point for the feed line, the return line, and that's the return line and my vent line over there. So I'll check back in after I get that done. Just an update. I just cracked the first nut loose. So you're gonna wanna, this is a 14mm, this lower one. This is 19 on top. So I would recommend, if you have it, oh, there goes a wrench. If you have it, use a flare nut wrench, like this. You get a better grip on it on the bottom piece. And on the top, you can just use a regular wrench. But hold that top one while you're twisting the bottom one, and it cracked loose. I mean, this is a 20-year-old car, and it's still in pretty good shape, so you shouldn't have too much of a problem with that. I sprayed a little bit of a PB blaster on there. So yep, first one's loose. So I got it completely out, as you can see there. But I'm having a little trouble actually like pressing it down and releasing it from inside of there. So I'm actually just gonna cut it somewhere along there. I'm gonna try to fit this in there. This is a little line cutter. Try to fit this in there and just remove that top piece from there. So here's that piece out. Cut it nicely with that little pipe cutter. I really recommend getting one of those. Unfortunately, there was some fuel still on the line. I mean, this car's been sitting for a long time, like a year. So I didn't think there would be any fuel pressure in there still, but there was a little bit in there. So just get ready with a pan underneath in case any drips out. But as a rule of thumb, I don't know exactly how the pressure works as far as the car being off for a certain amount of time, but just get a pan ready just in case any fuel leaks out. Alright, so I just removed the vent line. That's just this thing right here. It was slid onto, there's a fitting right there. It was a little tough to get off, so I just ended up cutting it. If you end up doing that, just be careful because this is plastic, so you don't want to break that or cut that too much. So just be careful, and it just slides right off of there. So I just took the return line off. It's your fuel rail. Comes out right here. This hose sits on there, about up to there. I just cut this because it was being fussy. So, and as you can see, the origin point, all 3 lines are now loose. So I'm probably gonna They're connected to some bracket here, so I'll see if I can loosen them up. But anyway, I'm gonna probably cut all this stuff off. But yeah, that's your last line. It'll sit on there. Just be careful again if you decide to cut that. Just wanted to note something. Where all your lines feed into the track as they go towards the bottom of the car, there's this little bracket here. That's kind of a pain in the ass. If you see to the tip of my screwdriver, you have to push this outwards. This is a plastic bracket. Push that outwards and it releases this like little door thing. And then after you release that, pull that away, you can pop out each of the lines. And I'm thinking I might go under the car, cut them, and then try to pull them up through here, all three of the lines. So I'll try that next. Alright, so I'm back under the car, and I'm going to try to cut the lines right, sorry, I've got to position my light here, right at this junction where it goes up under the front subframe. I'm going to try to cut it right there because in theory I should then be able to just pull it up from the top, and then I'll deal with the rest of this on the bottom. Alright, so update. It's about half hour later, I cut the main feed line right there, which is now hanging. And as I expected, there was some gas dripping out, so I have my pan here. But after about 10 minutes, it was still a steady stream, and I couldn't understand why. The car's not on, the battery terminal's off. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Definitely take the terminal off your battery. Anyways, it was still coming through at a solid stream. I had filled nearly half this bucket. I was like, what's going on? Turns out it was creating a siphon from the tank somehow. So what I did was I went up top and I disconnected the line from the top of the tank, and as soon as I did that, it stopped leaking. So for whatever reason, it made a siphon and it was pulling gas from the tank. So just, you guys can learn from my mistake, just disconnect that top connection first, and then you won't have this problem. But anyways, I'm going to try to cut the other two lines. I already cut one of them actually. And I'm going to cut this last one and try to get all the rest of the old metal line out of there. Alright, so I got the all the origin points off, pulled out of the car. This was a bit of a pain in the ass, not gonna lie. You just gotta take your time. You see how many bends there are. You gotta like cut at a million points and then fish everything out through. And I ended up just having to use a pair of big cutting pliers and sort of grabbing and twisting to get this stuff to snap. This pipe cutter, or this line cutter, this is really good for the spots where you can access it. You basically put it on, turn it tight, twist it, turn it tight, twist it, etc. So that works well. Anyway, this is the vent line, the return line, and the feed line. So those are the origin points. Now I'm gonna take you to the top of the tank in the back seat, and we'll show you how to get those fittings off. So like I mentioned, we're at the top of the tank now. I already had to take this one off, like I said before, because of that siphon thing, but basically it comes off pretty easy. There's this little yellow clip here. So take a pair of pliers in one hand, squeeze that shut, take a screwdriver in the other hand, and pry it just straight off that way. There's a little hole here. You get the screwdriver in there and pry it off. And I'm going to take this one off now, but that's just a regular clamp there, so that'll come right off. And that's your return line. So I'll do that. And then go back under the car and remove the rest of the line. Alright, so there you have it. All the line is out. This is your feed line. This was the vent line, and the return line's also on there. So everything's out. Now I'm going to start feeding the new line in, starting at the top of the gas tank. So I'll bring you in there for that. Alright, so this is the new end that goes for the feed line that goes onto the top of the gas tank right here. I'm going to take this yellow plastic piece off. This new one has a brand new one in there. That just snaps on. Before you snap it on, feed the other line, the end of the line through underneath, and then it'll go out underneath the car, and then you put this on. Alright, so there you have it. Both fittings are on. Feed line, return line. This one was a bit of a pain. I think I got it on tight. Hopefully it doesn't leak. I'll start up the car when I'm all done. But yeah, I was able to reuse one of my old clamps, so everything's on, and now I'm gonna put on the vent line, go to the front, connect everything. All right, so it is now 2 days later. Car's running, everything's hooked up tight now, no leaks. I'll show you where all the connection points are in a minute, but the reason it's 2 days later is I was getting a profuse leak where the line met the oil or the fuel filter on top. I'll show you here. That connection point, right where it meets the fuel filter, is getting a bad leak. And the kit came with this washer that went in between the connection for the line and then the connection on the filter. And it was leaking pretty hard right at that washer. So I went on YouTube, and a guy had used a line from the same company and had that same washer, and he said he had the same problem. So he said he just took the washer right off. So I did that. I tightened it up without the washer, and it was much better, but there was still just a little tiny leak. So I took it off again, and then I wrapped both the thread ends with Teflon tape, and that stopped the leak completely. So the car's been running for about 5-10 minutes now and dry as a bone. So who knows what the problem was? Maybe it was my filter threading, I don't know. But overall, it's still a good line. You just gotta do a little bit of problem solving with stuff like that. But yeah, everything's good. Everything's good up there. Here, I'll show you the. There's your return, and peek down in there. The vent line is good. Go inside the car. Those are good. That's your vent and return. Go under quick. It's gonna be a little tough to tell, but the main one you can see here is that's the vent line, and that one's good. There's no leaks on the actual hoses themselves. So yeah, everything is good and running. The only thing I have to do now is figure out a way to get all that loose, those loose hoses up in the air. I'm gonna make some brackets, I think, out of some steel or something, and then I'll rig those up under the car. Maybe I'll show you guys that too. But yeah, everything's working well. So here's a better look at what I was talking about. You just get a lot of slack with the line they give you. That bottom one's the main feed line. So I mean, it's a little unnecessary, but I guess you better have too much than too little. So I'll figure out a way to rig that up. And the other two lines, I just cut them to be a little bit long, because I didn't want to have it be too tight and make a kink in the line. So yeah, the original line or track where they fed, there's a nice like little indent. So I'll probably try to rig up some brackets and put them back in that same spot to get these off the ground. So yeah. So I decided not to show the whole process of me making those brackets, mainly because I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but there's also a bunch of different ways you could do it. This is just the way I'm thinking about doing it. So basically it's literally just going to be a straight piece of metal, maybe like 1/8 inch thickness, and I think it's like 4 inches across, just straight blank steel. I'll drill a hole there, and then I'll just bolt it into the bottom of the car in the one spot. So these will sit over that, and then I'll zip tie the lines to those brackets just so they're securely connected to something that's going to keep them above the bottom of the car. You can do it however you want, just use zip ties if you want, but that's probably how I'm going to do it. But yeah, that's how I'm going to finish the video. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, if you do this repair, you can leave me a comment and I'll try to answer them the best I can. But remember, I'll link that stuff that I bought below so you guys can check it out. Alright, thanks for watching.